Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mercatani with another episode of Matt Chat, brought to you by USA Wrestling, the national governing body for wrestling in the United States, and by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike and USA Wrestling branded gear. Super excited to do part 2 of our Junior Duels preview, talking about the boys tournaments this week with 3 of the best coaches in the country, 3 of the best interviews in the country. From Illinois, we'll go from left to right, Justin Perch. From Minnesota, Doug Paulson. And from Iowa, winners win, Adam Fellers. So, guys, thanks for coming on. This is going to be a fiery one. How's everybody doing?
Great.
I'm pretty good.
Doing good.
So, people know my love for this event, the Junior Duels. I was talking to you guys a little bit off air. One of the reasons why I like it so much is a team race is so much easier to follow than like Fargo. Sometimes the best kids don't hit, maybe the teams don't end up meeting in the gold bracket, stuff like that. But the team title I know means a lot. Illinois has been the gold standard in this tournament for years. Minnesota's had a ton of success. Iowa won it last year. So it made a lot of sense to be able to have you guys on here. So Adam, I'll give you the opening word as the team defending champions. Let's start out with this. How important was it to the state of Iowa to win the tournament last year, to win the boys junior duels division? What did that mean to you guys as a state, Seabolt Academy, the whole thing?
I think it was kind of revolutionary, but I think it comes back to the leadership of the state kind of taking a different direction. And I think it's kind of coincidental that you have Illinois and Minnesota on the call as well with me, but I think those are 2 states that the leadership of the state of Iowa try to emulate a little bit, just because I think the staffs from both states are pretty selfless. They kind of put their egos to the side. Who's part of what club isn't important. It becomes about the kids, and when it's amazing when you do that, how many more people want to participate and what your end product becomes, versus it becoming, in-row fighting between who's coaching who's got what guys, who's going to be on the team, who's not going to be on the team. That doesn't really create an environment that's really conducive for positivity for the kids or kids want to be a part of. And I think a lot of that as in the state of Iowa kind of went to the side. And as a result, the kids wanted to compete. And, I think it was like 17 years or whatever. It was good. And I think, when you see our roster this year, you're going to have a lot of those same kids that were on the team last year. Graduated a couple kids, but coming back. And, it's easy these days for these kids just want to take an event off, right? Which is crazy.
Yeah, we always talk about it's a funnel. Like when you're young, there's 300 matches a year. And then like we were talking off the air about like these senior events now, like some of these guys, you might see them wrestle 7-10 matches a year, maybe 2-3 events. And so it does become where, well, maybe this one isn't important. So, Justin, Illinois has been so good for so many years, especially in the Olympic styles of wrestling. You guys obviously were hit harder than some states by COVID. And I was just in Chicago last weekend, so quick shout out to Mike Powell and Beat the Street Chicago. They raised literally over $500,000 for inner city kids in one night. An amazing accomplishment. It was chicken soup for the soul to be a part of that. But to go back to Illinois, how important is it for you guys to be the gold standard, to be that when in Iowa or in Minnesota wins it? I mean, I remember interviewing Doug when they won it. He's like, we're trying to get to, the consistency of an Illinois. When an Adam Feller says, we're trying to emulate the coaching staffs of a Minnesota and Illinois, what, as one of the main leaders in that state, how do you view all this stuff?
I mean, for me, it's a rich tradition, right? I took over a program that had already been winning, and I feel like we're still chasing something big, trying to win a freestyle title. It's kind of been out of my hands for a while. We've always been second or third. Last year, I think we ended up taking fourth, but we've won Greco. I think this year we were going for like six in a row, possibly something like that, or 5. But yeah, I mean, it's a rich tradition, and trying to get Illinois to buy back into it. Feller said it perfect. We're a lot like Iowa, where The clubs are just all competitive with each other. Like, this is my guy. No, this is my guy. No, this is my guy. I'm going to coach this guy. But when it comes to duels, I've never felt that. Like, it's the one time of the year that, everybody can truly come together and be a part of, one program, one state. So coaching the duels has always been my favorite time of year, because you really feel that. And these guys just, we were talking about off air. It's like, it's one of those environments that it could be a lot better, but it's huge because all these teams are coming together, all the wrestlers are coming together, and it's a battle every year, with Minnesota, with Iowa, with Oklahoma. It's just nothing really truly beats it at this time of year, and I think it's one of the best preps for Fargo than you could get. I mean, if I look at our lineup last year, going into it, you said COVID hit us pretty hard, and it did. I didn't know a lot of the kids because they didn't wrestle freestyle for 2 years. And then they were off the mats almost for a year unless they were doing some underground wrestling. So seeing our lineup last year, I was like, man, I don't know. This doesn't look like a lineup we brought in the past. And they were all hammers. And I want to say there was a crazy percentage. I want to say like 80 to 90% of them all American at Fargo. And I think we had multiple national champions on that roster too. So hope we can do the same this year.
So Doug, I remember interviewing you. I can't remember which year it was, but where Minnesota and Ohio, I think, was at it. And you guys wrestled in the pools and ended up wrestling again in the finals. And it was the same exact dual meet score, but it was like each side flipped 2 matches. Like, I won 2 that I lost the first time and lost 2 that I won. I'm always struck by how much the Minnesota kids, and then no disrespect to Illinois, Iowa, anybody else, Missouri, but the Minnesota kids are really into it for each other. There was one year where like a 220-pounder was getting beat by 9 points or something and pinned the guy and put you guys into the finals. What kind of camaraderie have you seen over the years as being a part of the Minnesota staff?
First, I want to say, Adam, I think all you guys were seniors, and I want to know if you redshirt them last year.
No,
Rick Ayala's back.
It's IA, not PA.
Partially answer that question, David. I think that match was with Justin. He had if I recall me, if I'm right, Justin, he had a returning national champ against one of our guys that could go about 30 seconds. He was up by 7 points. There was an injury out. They had won the tournament or whatever, the match. And then we threw the brick in. We had a question on the scoring, and it came back 10 minutes later. They needed 1 more point. And our guy went out, lateral dropped him and pinned him, and we won. And it went from bedlam on their side, just like you were saying, unbelievable. They won the match, to absolutely bedlam on our side, coming back and beating them. And it was crazy, Justin. I mean, it was just crazy.
Yeah, we still talk about that. I don't know why we ever threw him back out there, but the kid's like, oh, this is easy. I'll tech him. Went right into an over-under and got lat dropped right away, immediately. Pin, over.
He only had 10 more seconds, so he had to do it. So, but the duels for me, and obviously I'm a little older than some of you guys. It's not about the coaching; it's about the kids, and it's about progressing the kids. For me, to be able to watch them for another 4 or 5 years when they get out of high school, and that's kind of what we're doing now. Watching the guys that make the world teams and the Olympic teams and the college teams and them knowing us. So I'll still get a call from a kid I have in Stanford and said, hey, coach, I had a good meet. I did this, and this. And it's like, it means a lot to me that maybe I made an impact on him and his career. The duels opens it up so that the guys can feel the competition. They get under the big lights. Some of these guys have never been to the big show. Okay. And so you bring them to junior nationals, and they go out on the floor and there's lights in their eyes. They don't know where they're going, but if they can get to the duels, it's the big show. It's just that it's a prelim, like you said, David. So they get to junior nationals. I've been here. This isn't a big deal. I just got to get ready for my match. Where if they don't, it's like sometimes they get starstruck. They're nervous and whatever. So I agree. It's a great lead up to juniors. Part of it, coaching wise, recruiting wise, for us is you have all these great kids, but to get them on the team, lots
of nods.
A carrot, a car, the dad, a house. I mean, what what does it take to get some of these kids? And you just don't get all of them. So that's the challenge. Once they're there, the lineup is done, then you put your best foot forward and, let the kids show you what you got.
Yeah, a couple things struck me from your guys' comments. First of all, I talked to Eric Burnett a couple years ago. I know he's a guy you all respect from Elyria, Ohio, for the people that don't know. And he mentioned the same thing you did, Doug, about the ability to bond with these kids over a couple days. Maybe they're not your club guy, but they're from the other side of the state, but they become a part of something big. And the other thing is, whatever team wins it, like, last year Iowa won it. There's some kid on that Iowa team that'll probably be the greatest accomplishment of his whole life in wrestling. Like, not all of them are going to be Drake Ayala's, and that's okay. Not all of them are going to be Aiden Riggins and those kind of guys. And they'll be able to tell their kids and their grandkids, I was on a national championship team and we got t-shirts and we got rings or whatever the case may be. And you can go back and watch the video. And I was in there. And, we also talk about the team scoring is different here. We're like, if you can just score a point, you save your team a team point. And you guys have seen this. How many times are you just rooting for your kid? Like, you're coaching me, you're down 9-0. You're like, just get a push out. Just get a push out, and now it's only 3-1 instead of 3-0, or it could have been 4-0. So fellers, I'll start with you. Who's coming back, and how many guys got a 5th year of high school eligibility? We lost you on camera. So
hold on. I gotta pull up the list real quick.
Okay.
One thing also is the thing I like about duels is you don't see as many people. Like, you go to a lot of these tournaments, kids have to wrestle kids head on. They may or may not enter the tournament based on maybe losing. And in duels, you can't hide as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think they get insulated by the team, and maybe not them losing or not winning the individual tournament sometimes allows that to happen. I mean, like the Illinois duel last year. I mean, I think the first match out of the gate was Block and Nasir Bailey, right? I think that's the last time Nasir's even lost. And then he went on a tear and won in Fargo, and Block got to the blood round. But
was it the finals, Jordan Williams against your kid, which was then the rematch of Fargo 4 weeks later? Wasn't that like the second match or something? Because I was doing the play-by-play, and I'm like,
against Oklahoma,
in the finals,
Caleb Ratchie. So we've got, I think a pretty good lineup, and I'm speaking for maybe out of turn here, but I mean, we lost Ayala and we lost Ratchie. Those would be the big names, but we added Nakaborn, you added Colby Franklin, Nick Fox bumps up. Garvin's in there. He just had a great UWW. And then we add both the Frost boys. They moved from Louisiana to Evan and Jacob Frost. They moved from Louisiana to Iowa last year. They wrestled in state Iowa this year. So you have Drew Ayala's back. Cade Bloom is a couple-time state champ, coming back at 13. Nate Jesseroga will be at 20. Cale Peterson will be at 126. He was 4th at Cadet UWWs. And you go Evan Frost, Ryder Block, Joel Jesseroga, Hunter Garvin, Aiden Riggins, Nick Fox, Tate Nakaborn, Colby Franklin or Wyatt Volker, Ben Keeter, and Jake Walker. So pretty solid group.
Soft.
Hey, listen, here's the only thing I want. If I'm going to talk any trash on this all, is that, it's easy for all these states to say, well, if we would have sent our guys, we would have won and all that. And everybody's had the date for a long time on the calendar. And if you don't show up, and maybe I'm taking shots at Pennsylvania here, but everybody says about, well, Pennsylvania never shows up, and we see what happens at Fargo. But everybody's had the same date, right? And if you can't get your teams there, that's either maybe I don't know what's going on. Maybe where it's some things I spoke about earlier about when kids are going. But I think everybody's got to show up. You could re-wrestle this tournament a couple of times. It may end up a couple times different based on the teams and the pools. But we'll have to be ready for Minnesota gut wrenches. There's no doubt about that. And underhooks from Illinois. And we look forward to it, because I think the kids that don't wrestle in this tournament and then go to junior nationals, it's tough to jump right into junior nationals. I don't care what kind of training camp you have, and not be thrown into the fire of 6, 7, 8 matches in 2 days against that top competition, and be off for, if they wrestled this last weekend yesterday in Ohio or Saturday in Ohio, they would be off for 6 weeks going into to junior nationals. And I just don't think, as young as they are, that's conducive for them developing and competing.
Well, you guys are all high level coaches, and I coached a long time. My dad coached, and we always felt like the more film, I'm so old, I'm saying film, more video you got of your guys wrestling or girls wrestling, the better chance you have to correct mistakes. You also see who actually does certain moves in live competition. They always do a thing or two better in live than they do in practice, and they always do a thing or two worse than they do in practice. And the more times you do that, like Doug said, being under the lights, all that stuff.
You can scrimmage a lot, but there's a lot of other factors that go into it. Like it may be that the duel comes down to you, and you're on the line, and you may not feel good, right? You might got dinged up. All those things are going to happen when it comes to Fargo. And if you haven't been tested, quote unquote battle tested at an event like this, you could get beat, and you see a lot of kids maybe in individual tournaments that don't get beat, and they go to a team tournament. I think it's harder for the kids to get up every round sometimes, routine wise. They get emotionally invested in the duels. These kind of environments, from my point, drives a lot of adversity and challenges for the kids to evolve. So,
well, and I know for all you guys, it's easier to coach a duel than run around a tournament, right? Like, you get to stay in the same chair and the kids do the running. So,
well, it just depends if they have like 7 USA wrestling events at the same venue or not. Otherwise, it's not that bad.
For junior duels, just for junior duels.
Yeah.
We can't take shots at USA Wrestling. We're on USA Wrestling Network. You're wearing a USA Wrestling shirt. Okay,
hey, listen, when I had to commute 300 miles one way from the airport to the event this week, it was a little bit rough.
There we go. Everybody got some Nike and some USA Wrestling.
Sorry.
Gary Abbott, Rich Benner would be happy. Justin, who are the main hammers that people should be looking for Illinois?
Well, I mean, we lost a lot of guys this year. Most off to college already. I think we had quite a few seniors last year. But guys returning, we got Stauffenberg is back. Braden Stauffenberg just was a runner-up at U20s for Greco, so he'll be back. Bradley Gillum's back. Braden Thompson just made a U20 world team, so he'll be in. Vincent Robinson will be in the lineup again. Cannon Webster will be in the lineup again. But outside of that, I don't think anybody's returning. It should be a bunch of new guys for
no Bailey.
Is Bailey going to be there?
No Bailey.
Fingers crossed. All right.
No, as of right now, I mean,
exciting. Yeah.
Bailey, we would love to bring him. He wants to go 32, and I think we got maybe 3 hammers at 32 would be pretty tough for us to bring. We'll see what happens. He's on the fence still.
Him and Webster had a battle this weekend. It was awesome.
Yeah, for 3rd and 4th, right?
Yeah.
If your team is so deep, you don't know if Nasser Bailey's on it. One of those guys could probably win a match at 138. I would think.
Right.
Put him in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Doug will take him. Doug will take him for a week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got some younger studs in the lineup, so it's going to be an interesting year. I think at 38 we got Will Basinger. He's been around all over the place. Our qualifier runner-up Northern Plains, state or Illinois runner-up, was a state champ last year for Illinois. At 100 we got Louis Hayes' little brother, Rocco Hayes.
Oh
I don't know if you guys remember Louis. He's a 9th grader this year, little guy. I'm sure he'll make some noises more weight he puts on over the next couple of years. We do have another returner at 106, at Ethan Spock. He was a 5-1 guy for us last year in the duels. Tough kid. And then the rest are just going to be some guys making some noise for us. Just some guys never been in the lineup.
And before we get to Minnesota's, I think this is a good point. Like some of these guys, this is their sort of coming out announcement party. Like maybe it is like a Southern Plains or Northern Plains, depending on what part of the country you're in. But the junior duels or the cadet duels, both of them, they get a ton of publicity. The other thing is kids get used to wrestling in different orders because for people, you guys know this clearly, but for people that don't know, they do a drawing and whatever weight they start at round 1, it bumps 1 weight. So the order of things, like you guys would remember better than me, but I know Jordan Williams and Rachi were either like, I think they were the 2nd match of the dual final last year. And the duel ended up getting out of hand in a good way for Iowa, bad way for Oklahoma.
Started at 45, yeah.
And that was 52 or 45 that they wrestled
They were
at.
at 52.
Yeah, but the 45 match was 2 All-Americans too. I had 2 Iowa dads who were sitting there running the cameras next to me, kind of helping me with background stuff. Doug, who do we got from Minnesota that people should be looking for?
You know, we have some guys returning. We had a strong senior class last year. We have a couple that I was all in favor of them winning, but they just won U20. So we haven't heard if Bennett's going to be coming. He was on the roster, and Corey Volk just won at 26. So I don't know for sure if those guys are coming. But Mavari will be at 13. Adam Kaler, returning All-American, will be at 20. Zach Hansen's back. He's pretty tough. Jed Webster is All-American. He'll be back. Joey Novak, Ryder Rodriguez, world team member. He'll be coming. So we have some pretty decent guys, and there's a few, like Justin said, we're here. You just have to make that decision. And I agree with you, Adam, that we start talking to kids at the state tournament, before the state tournament, about this tournament. So our state tournament's the end of February, and we're already trying to get some interest. And then you have prom, and then you have college. Some of these guys got to go to college. You got to leave early, and it's a tough one. We lost a couple last year, but you just do the best job you can. And we're going to put a decent team out. Could be better if we pick up a couple of these world team members that we just had qualify.
Yeah.
One thing real quick, David.
Okay.
Is like state of Iowa, we got to put the leadership put like a matrix together, like qualification, because like Justin pointed out, you get into probably some things that maybe in the past where I'm going to pick this guy, but they put a point system in place, basically like accumulation of based on events of last year, if you place if you win a state, all those things. So it's a point system. So it's not like if you have a guy win Fargo and then he doesn't wrestle all spring because he's already qualified for the tournament, right? And it forces, not forces, but it rewards the kids that continue to compete, I think, through the spring too.
Yeah, I think anytime you can avoid the appearance of favoritism, especially at a young age, and it's more of, wrestling's an eat what you kill kind of sport, right? Like it's one of the main differences between like a jiu-jitsu where I'm a white belt, there's no way I could beat that black belt. Well, I'm a first-year wrestler, and if I made it, I can go beat the national champ. That can happen, and I think that's what we all smile and we love about wrestling is that you earn that spot and you fight for it. And, on any given day, anything can happen. So we had Zach Randall on with the girls podcast. I'll do my best to explain this, and you guys jump in if I'm a seeding criteria for the junior duels tournament. And it's everything from a Fargo All-American to a regional winner to all these different things. It's only, I think my understanding is it's only for that specific styles. Like if you want a folk style tournament, it doesn't impact the freestyle or the Greco seeding. Am I correct on that, guys?
As far as I know, folk style doesn't affect it. So
right.
if you won juniors, you'd get half as many points for freestyle. If you won freestyle, you'd still get some points. But folk style, I don't believe
right.
is.
Yeah. So like
you lose a point if you went from Greco to freestyle.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Yeah.
Okay. So there's all these points, and then that's important too. And you guys again know this, but I'm sort of telling the audience who you list, because the more points you get, even if, like, let's say I'm hurt, but I had I won everything for a year, and you put me in the lineup, I can potentially get more ranking points than the person that actually might wrestle, or maybe the person that can beat me. Once they do that, they get broken down into pools. You wrestle the people in your teams in your pools. Then they re-pool it, gold, silver, bronze, copper, all that kind of stuff. And so you can end up wrestling, as I think Minnesota and Ohio did one year, and I'm sure you guys have had this numerous times, Illinois, where you end up wrestling the same team again in the finals. I think is probably the only way you can do it. You get separated top and bottom half. But between that and the rotation of things, where like a 106 pounder might end up the 13th match of the duel, as opposed to the first or second match of the duel. And there's lower weight classes. Isn't like the first weight class like 94 or something like that, or 88? It's 100 now. But there's 15 weights now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's 15 weights in this, not 14. So, and then the other thing,
15.
just so people, there's 5. If you pin somebody, it's 5 for your team, 0 for the other. If you tech and shut out, it's 4-0. Tech with the other person scoring, it's 4-1. A decision shutout is 3-0. A decision with points is 3-1. So you're always encouraged to score or get off your back if you're losing. And you'll see some stuff like that. Like somebody throws me to my back and I bridge but I go out of bounds and I don't get pinned and it's caution and 2. And normally you'd be yelling and my team's all happy because I didn't get pinned, and who cares if I go back down in parterre, I saved a point. So it's really fascinating. I see so many awesome matchups and it gets feisty. Like I know the coaches get after each other, the kids get after each other, but I think it's super, at the end of the day, there's a ton of respect. I see it between you guys and the programs. Like Bobby Cook couldn't jump on with us today, but Oklahoma always has a good team. And, obviously they probably have the best chance of bringing most of their hammers because it's the most convenient for Oklahoma over any other state, right? Like the travel's not as bad.
So you picking Oklahoma, I see.
I'm not picking Oklahoma.
Okay.
I'm not picking Oklahoma. I'm not even smart enough I'll say this. I will pick the winner from this podcast. I got 3 teams against the field. I'll take that. I feel like that's pretty smart. I feel like if anybody wants to bet, I'll go even money. I got these 3 teams. You can have the field. I wish we were good enough that I could pick Missouri. I don't think we're at the level team-wise. I think Missouri's very best guys can wrestle. I just don't think we have enough of them to win a dual meet format. So, and then we didn't have a good Fargo last year at all. And we're trying to do some things to change that. And it's like what you guys have said, as I've been an observer of the Fargo team for years and was actually on the staff this last year. And I saw what you guys talked about, where there's different factions and not everybody's, maybe being, everybody cares about their kids. I don't think it's a negative. We're just not, things could be more optimal. That's probably the nicest way to say it. Things could be more optimal.
I think it's, as a coach, you have to take the standpoint it's not about you and who's in the corner. It's not about, I coached that kid to a national title. It's the kid did at the end of the day. And I think that's where egos come into play. And that's where maybe a lot of the negativity and fractioning comes in play. It's like, at the end of the day, just to have the opportunity or be fortunate enough to be on staff, be part of these kids' lives, like make it about the kids and then usually everything works out just fine. Yeah.
And this isn't a Missouri thing, but I always talk about in general, like you see some coaches that say we when they win and he when they lose. And, like my dad was the opposite. When we had a guy that lost, it's like we have to do a better job preparing Justin for the next round. And then when Justin wins, like, man, he did a great job. We're really proud he's on our team. And I think that says a lot about how much where the coach's priorities are, right? Like if it's a we thing, like they're making sure they're in the pictures, it's all over social versus, like Doug, when your team went nuts one year, you were kind enough while they were going nuts to jump on and do a quick interview for me. But I could almost see the tears in your eyes watching those kids celebrate. And that was very selfless for you to do that for us. So, it's a big, go ahead. No, go ahead.
So when we talk about matchups and good competition, you guys remember Mitch McKee? He's been out of school now, tough kid. This was 6 years ago. It was his senior year. He was at 132, and we had a pretty good team, but so did everybody else. And I remember I said, Mitch, wherever there's a ranked kid, you get him. I don't care if he's at 32 or 38, you get him. He said, okay. So we went through the tournament. He wrestled 6 nationally ranked guys. We get to the last match of the day, or second to last day, and I'm looking at the lineup, and I didn't know the kid. Is he nationally ranked? Yeah. What's his name? Sammy Soso. Oh, yeah, I know that kid. And he ended up beating Mitch like 6-5 with some funk that I'd never seen before in my life. But that day, he beat 6 nationally ranked guys, lost to 1. You go to the national tournament, he did pretty good. And some of these same guys were in the weight class. So you just don't know who's going to come up and who you're going to get. And the guys go out there and sometimes they surprise you good. Sometimes they surprise you bad, and either way, you're in their corner and you now can prepare for juniors. If a guy is just, you haven't seen him, he's first time on the team, he's from a small town somewhere and he's decent, making a few mistakes. Now we can work on him in juniors camp and get him better for the juniors. Otherwise, we can't correct him when he gets to juniors, but we can now correct him just to get him to juniors.
Your point is great, Doug, and it's tied to Adam's point, which is, people, there's less ducking because of the dual meet format, or there's more good matchups in that sense. And like, if I'm coaching Mitch McKee at Fargo, I'm not, you can't move him up in the middle of the tournament to wrestle Justin Birch. His job is just to win his bracket. Like if he wins his bracket, he did the most he could for Team Minnesota, but he can actually have a bigger impact for Team Minnesota. Like you're saying, switch hitting, moving around and stuff like that. So you guys know the high school landscape, the individual matchups better than I do. So Justin, I'll start with you. What's one or two potential, maybe like an Illinois kid versus either one of these other teams that are on, or like what's maybe like a 1 versus 2, 3 versus 4 kind of matchup that people could potentially see here based on how everything shakes out?
I mean, I have a matchup in mind that I really would like to see again. I haven't seen for a while, but it's not 100% committed yet. I'd like to bring Davino and see him and Jesse Roga go at it again. That would be a huge one.
I met Davino's coach at Vegas. His brother is Rudy Rudiker, right? From Notre Dame. From the movie Rudy, Davino's high school coach is his brother. He was telling me the whole story because I met him with his high school coach, right? At wherever he goes to school.
I think it's one of his coaches. Yeah, he was out there with him.
Yeah, he was there with him, and I was with Matt Collum, and they were telling me that whole story.
Yeah, I don't think I knew that story.
Yeah, I didn't either, but it's 7:00 and somebody buys you around, and all of a sudden you're hearing great stories. So, fellers, who's some, like last year we talked about like Rachi and JW, who are some of the other matchups?
I mean, I'd love to see that match again. What Justin just said, we just wrestled Volk in the semis of the challenge this weekend. Jess Roga lost to him 4-3, but it was a dogfight, great match. Volk wrestled. I mean, he deserved to win that tournament. He wrestled 6 tough matches, and if anybody wants to see how you're supposed to finish a series in match 3 and output of and deserving to win, I mean, he got the takedown. I think like 4 seconds left against Spradley. It was awesome. I want anybody that I can see watch against Webster is always great. And I like to put all of our guys against the Minnesota guys to see how good the gut wrench defense is, because if you can stop most of the time, if you can stop gut wrenches from Minnesota, your parterre defense is pretty good. And if not, you might be in a lot of trouble. Bailey and Block, I don't know because again, I don't know if Bailey's coming or not. I mean, listen, you're going to see some stars evolve at junior duels too, right? I think what Doug said's dead on is you're going to see where you need to work on as a whole for your team going into Fargo. So not having the guys there of what a lot of your base of your camp prep's probably done, but skill specific, certain situations you can continue to get beat in, just mat awareness overall. I mean, listen, I like them all. You've got to be ready for every match, especially these dual meets. It doesn't matter who you wrestle.
No, I agree with that. I mean, the one thing I like seeing the most every year is not really knowing one of the kids very well and seeing them come out of their shell and, become a star. I mean, being surprised is probably one of my favorite things, or seeing them do something that you showed them at camp or going against Minnesota and having to really fight your ass off just to find a point or a win.
Yeah. Doug,
you wrestle Illinois and Minnesota and you're not giving up underhooks, you're doing pretty good. but if not, you might give up a lot of push-outs.
A lot of step outs, a lot of caution of ones, and now with the new rule, it can be caution of one and another one. So that probably benefits the teams that are good with those underhooks and control and center. So Doug, who's somebody on your side that could, I guess, Volk Jesseroga would be another huge rematch, but what other ones would be potentially big?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen their lineup. It's like where have I been? How come I didn't study their last year's lineup? I know that Iowa kicked our butt, and I was kind of hoping they'd be gone again this year, but they're back. So we're gonna adjust to their mental toughness, and with Justin, it's just kind of a battle. It's how many times can you get headbutt in one match without a point against you? And so you just got to get ready for a battle. Iowa is very technically sound. I thought they never got out of position. It was hard to score them, hard to get to their legs. So I can't wait. I'm excited, and yeah. I mean, it just kind of starts now between these two next tournaments. the duels and junior nationals is kind of the highlight of the whole wrestling season for me.
Yeah, I think it's, we just got joined, looks like here, if we get his camera up, by the Tulsa sports commissioner. So it's actually perfect timing, Joel, because we talked about wrestling stuff, leg grabbing, gut wrench defense, underhooks. So for those people that don't know Joel's Joe Kester from the Tulsa Sports Commission. I know him from junior duels and from Big 12s, and kind of just wanted to give you the floor for a couple of minutes to talk about why Tulsa loves junior duels so much. And I think one thing that everybody on this call would be interested in, what can we expect come March for NCAAs? What is Tulsa doing to make it a great experience? Because right now, some of these guys are going to be against each other, but one thing we all love, no matter who we root for, is NCAA weekend. So what can, and I like it, casually late, just drop in, drop some knowledge and then boogie out. So well played.
So, excuse me. Well, sorry, I'm running a little bit behind today, but I appreciate you having me on and talking through everything. But yeah, again, my name is Joel Kester. I'm the director of sports sales for the Tulsa Sports Commission. And, we do a lot of youth and amateur wrestling here in obviously Tulsa and Oklahoma in general. You talked a lot about what junior duels means to us, and it's huge. Beyond from a citywide event, we're going to have an estimated 120 teams this year, boys and girls. And it's going to have almost a $3 million economic impact on Tulsa. So, it's no small potatoes, that's for sure. And, I'd be remiss, and again, I don't know if Zach was on earlier, but Zach Randall and the Oklahoma chapter for USA Wrestling, they're the real heroes of that event. They get the teams, they put on the event. We're kind of in the background just promoting it and really, helping behind the scenes. But again, Zach and his entire crew at Oklahoma USA Wrestling, they're the ones that really make it happen. So we're really excited. Obviously, another week to go, and we're going to have a lot of folks here in town.
So again, I tell people the two events, and I, Doug and Justin, I would guess if you don't agree, you're like, kind of. The two events that I think that people should go to that they don't go to are the U.S. Open in Vegas. You can watch amazing wrestling and literally be standing right next to people. The tickets aren't that expensive. Hotels, you can always find a cheap hotel. There's actually a restaurant open at night in Las Vegas all the time. And then if you want to see the superstars of tomorrow, boys and girls, cadets, juniors, U14s, whatever, junior duels. Because again, you can walk right over, hey, it's Minnesota, Illinois on mat 16. Like, you can find a spot. You can find a spot like literally 6-8 feet from the mat. You can hear what Justin Perch and Doug Paulson are saying to their kids in the corners. I get maybe a little more access because I'm a USA Wrestling guy and kind of listening, but would you guys, this is a great experience that people should try to come to, especially if in the Oklahoma area, right, guys?
Oh, yeah.
We usually will have 25, 30 guys on the team, and we'll get a third of the parents to come down. And now, because of the excitement, we have parents that have gone in the last 4 or 5 years that are just coming down to watch. They don't even have kids in it. They just want to come down. I was going to say something, Joe, for your benefit. The last few years that we've had it, we missed a couple because of COVID. A happening for the coaches is we'll get 5 or 6 coaches. We'll walk over to your minor league ballpark, which from the arena is, I'm going to say 6 blocks. I'm not positive. They have a number of restaurants along the way. We watch a game. They're playing. The fans are packed. Everybody's having fun. One night they had fireworks. I mean, it's just a great time to be in Tulsa when that happens. So we're planning on it again this year.
Awesome.
There's a game on, we're going to walk over and watch.
Well,
Doug,
you got to get Doug on the marketing committee.
I was going to tell you, Doug, you're hired. You start tomorrow, sir. No,
I haven't done that one yet.
Yeah, you hit all the right points. Yeah, our Tulsa's really grown over the last few years. If you haven't been here in a few years, it's definitely something to see. Our restaurant, entertainment, nightlife scene here is unbelievable. You talked a little bit about the ballpark down in Greenwood district. And then we also have the arts district where you see all those restaurants and attractions. And, again, we try to make this a big family event, just like nationals next year. We encourage everyone to bring their entire family. We've got places like the Gathering Place, which has been voted the best park in America for the last 3 years running. We have a world-class zoo. We have a world-class aquarium that probably people don't know about here in Oklahoma. So again, there's a lot to do here in Tulsa.
The DoubleTree bar has been known to have a few late night conversations too. I think everybody's familiar with that. We did a Black Wrestling Association event last year there too, and that's where Black Wall Street is. And so there's, I think that's socially impactful to see that and understand where we've come. And obviously we're all trying to keep getting better as a country, but that's really impactful. Joel, you said there's some new things that you guys are going to do for nationals this year. Are there any of those you're able to talk about right now?
Oh, we're playing a little bit close to chest, but I will tell you, without getting into a ton of detail, I don't think anyone's going to leave here thirsty or hungry. So we're going to make sure that everyone has a wonderful fan experience. We already know, bar none, we're going to have one of the best student athlete experiences over the past few years for nationals. Again, we've kind of been taking note the last few years, obviously with Oklahoma State University as our host institute, probably one of the better story programs in history. And we've got a lot of great resources from Coach Smith all the way down to some of our locals as well. We've got huge support. I can't tell you how excited Oklahoma is, and not just Tulsa, but Oklahoma to host nationals. It's a big deal. It's been many years since it's been in Oklahoma. I think last time it was in Oklahoma City. And so there's a lot of hype around next year. You haven't heard yet. If you haven't gotten your hotel rooms, don't wait any longer. Reach out. I'm here to help. Reach out to David if you've got his contact. I'm more than happy to share mine as well. But we're going to be at a sellout situation, probably a citywide for us, having that many people coming in the town. But we're going to be ready. Again, not going into a lot of detail yet, which we hope to release a little bit later this year.
We'll have you back on when you're able to cut it loose.
But I will tell you,
these people, all of us want to know. And the one thing I will say, I don't want to spoil it, but Joel is well aware, wrestling people, that there are windows of time when restaurants and bars need to be overstaffed and food and beverage need to be ready quickly. And especially on Saturday morning, for those of you that like to sleep in, places where you can get a Bloody Mary and watch the backside blood round, those have all been taken into account. I will say that without ruining anything, but that knowledge is there. Perch is nodding knowingly. So that's an important thing. I'll bring it back to junior duels just to say, we had Zach on last week with the podcast about the girls tournament, and we were here to talk about the guys tournament, but I think all of you guys are, especially Justin and Doug and Fellers had to jump off, but we're all super excited about how good women's wrestling, girls wrestling is in America. All of us have watched Final X, U23s, U20, all these different age groups. We're getting the better and best coaches. Like, Doug, I got a couple years ago when I went up there to Minnesota, I got to go to Pinnacle and see your son coach with Jared Lawrence, and Mac Ryder was in there, and all these people, and they got guys that are Olympic medalists, world team members, and they're coaching kids, Justin, your career and all, overtime and all those kind of things. These kids now get great coaching at a younger and younger level. And I think that's why you see, and I'll go back to the men for a second, boys as college freshmen making a huge impact, because there doesn't have to be this assimilation adjustment period, because they're getting some of the great minds in the sport poured into them at such a young age. And I will tell you this, I'm a 50,000-foot guy for USA Wrestling. I need to know a little bit about the world teams and a little bit about juniors and a little bit about this. I know I'm going to be surprised. I know somebody's going to come out of the woodwork this week, and I know these guys hope at least one of them's from Illinois and one of them's from Minnesota that hasn't popped up on the national scene yet. But somebody's going to beat somebody they're not supposed to, and it's not going to be lucky. They're just going to be better that day. And this is kind of a chance to see, you knew it first, you saw it first. And as I said, have really, really great seats or stands. Doug is not lying about the Minnesota people. They come in force. They come with lawn chairs. They're not scared. They are set up. They know how to camp out. So I will give the last words in order to Doug. Go ahead first. Anything you want to say about Minnesota or junior duels?
If we show up, I hope that Justin and I are meeting sometime during the tournament. It doesn't always happen that way, but I hope that we can meet. We've been, he actually came up to Minnesota and wrestled one of our high school tournaments, I'd say 3-4 years ago. Justin wasn't at the Christmas tournament or
Christmas,
one
yeah.
of them. And so always fun to coach against them, respect the heck out of them. And I just hope that we have a chance to wrestle against each other because not only are the kids good, but his coaching is very good. And I learned from watching other coaches, even though I'm an old guy, I learned so much from watching other coaches coach, in addition to my son, who's a pretty good coach. So for me to get to be a better coach, I have to be humbler and learn more. And Justin's one of those guys that I can learn from. I don't know Adam that well, but
Well, Justin, you got to say something nice now, so go ahead.
Man, I was going to kind of go the other way and was going to say, I hope I can get Paulson to cause a team point, get them all upset and stuff. But no,
he's too good of a coach for that. We
he's
know
too
that.
good. Yeah, he's no, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, this is one of my favorite times of year, one of my favorite teams to coach. I love when we get the chance to go up against Minnesota because I get to see how tough our guys really are. I mean, they're always skilled, but the one thing about Minnesota is that they fight to the last second. It doesn't matter, who they put out on the mat. I know Coach Paulson's always going to bring a really good team, even if he's not saying he's bringing who he is really bringing. But I know I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, I got a lot of younger guys on this team this year, and I'm hoping that we, like you had said, David, that maybe we see a new star be born. But I'm really looking forward to it. I'm hoping we can, after hearing what Iowa's bringing in, hopefully a couple of those ones that we're crossing our fingers, we can bring a couple of those studs on the team. But just really looking forward to it and seeing what our wrestlers can do and what Illinois can do. And like I said, see some new stars born. Get ready for Fargo.
Go ahead, Doug.
Hey, Joe, I had one question. Between Justin, David, and I, are you going to let us know where the open tab is when we get down there?
I will always know where the open tab is, and you are always on my tab, sir. Anytime I get to sit at the foot of greatness, if not, I am the open tab. I am happy to buy, and Joel knows this. Joel knows this about me.
And I'm the same way. Usually I try to take everyone out and have a good time, and I know we've done that a few times, David, probably a little too long, but yeah.
I think we can quarterback that, figure that out one night while we're all down there, guys.
Something for Joel real quick. Sorry to interrupt you, David, but something that we look forward to every year we have a blast with is that, we stay just a few blocks away from the arena and we love the scooters. We need to get some type of a little code there for the wrestling week that we can, rally the whole team through town again on the scooters and not leave some of the parents $300 on scooter bills.
Well, I'll tell you, they just upped their game on the scooters. We have them, whatever amount we had last year, triple that. From all the events we've had over the last few months, downtown is littered with them. So the kids and coaches and everyone, we've got plenty for everyone to get around. But let me see what I can do on the discount code.
First, just call Lime and see if you can get their logo on your gear real quick. They would probably hook you up with a massive hey, listen, there's deals to be made. The one thing you guys know here is I am a deal maker. So we can try to work that out, if not for this year, next year. So the last thing I wanted to say, first of all, thank everybody for their time. I think the environment that Minnesota, Illinois, Iowa, Bobby Cook at Oklahoma, that you guys create is what allows some of these new stars to come up. Because hey, I'm wrestling. I'm in the weight class between Justin Perch and Doug Paulson. I can't be the weak link. I got to step up, and the guys are patting me like, you can get him, Americatani, you can get him. I know he's number one. You can get him. And you see these guys' confidence and young ladies, but we're talking about the guys this week, the confidence build. So it's going to be exciting. We might, I reserve the right to grab one of you guys at the end of the round, because we're going to try something new there where we're going to do a preview, review, quick podcast at the end of each day. I will pay you guys in Moscow mules later that evening if you decide to stick around. So I enjoy these podcasts tremendously, talking to guys that I respect, and you guys have all done great jobs with your respective teams and organizations. So for Joel, for Justin and Doug, I'm David. Thank you for watching, listening, and sharing. We'll see you all next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.